What's up, Delaware, and welcome into DETV for another sports exclusive. It's playoff time this spring. Nick Alessandrini joined by the two experts here in Delaware. To my left from Delaware Live Sports, we have Jason Winchell, and to my right, the coach, Bill Harman. I'm sure if you're in and around Delaware, you know that name as well. So we're all here to talk a little 2022 baseball playoffs, the bracket and seedings coming out yesterday here for the DIAA. So we're going to jump right into it here shortly. We're going to get into all the matchups, talk a little bit about the teams here in 2022. But Jason, thanks for joining us here on DETV tonight. All the great work you do over at Delaware Live Sports. Great to have you on. How you feeling?
I'm feeling great. First of all, thanks for having me. It's great to be on here with you guys and talking some baseball. I can't wait. I think this is going to be one of the better state tournaments this spring. I think 7, 8, maybe even 9 teams have a chance this year. So it's going to be a great tournament and a lot of balance this year.
A lot of balance. Coach, last time we were together here, we had our mock draft special before the draft, and it was a great show then. Glad to have you back. How you doing this week?
I'm fine, Nick. Thanks for having me. Jason, great to have you with us, and I certainly agree with you. I think this is one of the more wide-open tournaments that we've seen in some time. What's really interesting to me as I analyzed the draw was that we have 12 teams from downstate and 12 teams from upstate. So a real resurgence of downstate baseball. Good to see back to 24 bracket. There are a couple teams that are obviously going to be upset that they're not in, but unfortunately that's just the way the rules read. But I'll tell you what, I think it's going to be a very interesting and very well-balanced tournament.
Yeah, so let's dive into this playoff here in 2022. Just first, Jason, before we dive into these specific matchups here, let's just talk about initial reactions to the bracket and the seedings yesterday afternoon. The DIAA releasing them on Sunday. We are here shooting Monday night with the playoffs set to get started for round 1 on Thursday. So, Jason, you got the seedings yesterday. Initial reactions, anything surprise you at all after they released them yesterday?
Not surprising, but I just looked at some of the potential matchups down there, quarterfinal matchups, and they're like state championship matchups. So, you got the possibility of Sally St. Mark's meeting in the quarters, Appo DMA meeting in the quarters, Middletown is a 10 seed, probably one of the hottest teams coming into the tournament. So it's going to be a lot of interesting matchups, first, second, and even quarterfinal rounds that you normally don't see in the tournament until later on.
And Coach, now over to you here. You see the bracket, it's in front of you. Anything jump out at you or surprise you maybe yesterday afternoon?
Well, I think we've already kind of mentioned it, the balance. And certainly as Jason alluded to, there are going to be some really interesting matchups in the quarters if the bracketing and the seedings hold. But I think there's a lot of balance, some really interesting first round games, which we're going to get to talk about, and then feeding into the second round. So I think it's going to be an exciting tournament. As I mentioned, a lot of balance, a lot of evenness this year. And I agree with Jason, 7, 8, maybe even 9 teams might be able to be around on that final for the finals.
It's going to be an exciting next few weeks. So let's dive right into it. We're going to be going up and down the bracket. We'll start at the top and work our way down with that first matchup. Again, these ones set for 4 p.m. on Thursday, and it's going to be number 16 Sussex Central taking on number 17 Lake Forest. So a 16 versus 17 matchup is what we'll start with. And let's talk a little bit first here about the Sussex Central Golden Knights. You're going to see the highlights on your screen here in just a moment. Sussex Central 10-7 on the year, led by head coach DJ Long. Tough for them down the stretch. Lost 3 of the last 4, but again, Lake Forest, Smyrna, and Caryville, 2 of them are playoff teams, as you see some of these highlights from the game against DMA earlier in the year. Reef Steen, Noah Burrows, some names that stick out for the Golden Knights, and some big wins for them: Dover, CR, Woodbridge, Sussex Tech, and Delmar. Jason, you had a chance, I believe, to check out this game we're seeing in front of us.
And that highlight right there, home run at Wilson Field, you don't see that too often. I mean, that was a great hit there by Tim Anderson. He can bring it offensively. He also pitched in that game. So yeah, they're a solid team. Struggled coming down the stretch, but they played a really tough schedule. And like Bill said, the Henlopen had a great year. And so you look at some of those losses at the end, and Caryville, who didn't make the tournament, they're a fantastic team. So I really don't look too much at that, but they're a dangerous team that can score a lot of runs. They can score a lot of runs this year.
And again, all the highlights you're seeing are courtesy of Delaware Live Sports and the great high school broadcast that they're able to bring you. Coach, now over to you, Sussex Central. Again, kind of hovering in that top 10, in the top 5 range in our rankings near earlier part of the season. Again, tough for them down the stretch, but here they are as a 16 seed.
Guys, this is a team that got off to a 6-0 start. They lost on May 17th to Lake Forest 7-6 in a really good game. So this to me is one of those toss-up games. DJ Long is a really well-known and fine coach downstate, so I think he'll have his team ready to go. And they came a little bit late in the season, 0-2 in their last 2, so they need to obviously get themselves going. I think a little bit better improvement on their defense would help.
And again, you mentioned it, they're going to be taking on the Lake Forest Spartans for the second time this season. Lake Forest, your 17th seed here in your 2022 DIAA Baseball Playoff. 11-7 were the Spartans in the regular season, led by head coach Corey Wyatt. Lost 2 games by 1 run in the middle of the year, so those games could have gone either way for them. They've won 4 in a row to close the regular season, so playing some good baseball. Some of those wins include Indian River, Woodbridge, Sussex Central, and Milford. They've scored 120 runs this year, only given up 66. A great team fielding percentage, team batting average just under 300. Coach, start with you here. What do you think about the Lake Forest Spartans? They get the 17th seed. They'll meet Sussex Central.
Well, this is a solid team, and I like the way they closed out the season. I'm a big fan of J.D. Mudry. He's a really solid pitcher, a really good strikeout-to-walk ratio. He's a solid player, and I expect him to probably get that start against Sussex Central.
Again, Jason, good matchup here, 16-17. The Golden Knights taking on the Spartans. What have you seen from Lake Forest this year?
Yeah, and like you said, what I really like is their team fielding percentage. They're very fundamentally sound on the defense end. Do not give teams extra outs, which is very important. But also offensively, almost a 300 batting average led by T.J. Hooks. First team all conference DH, 345 batting average, 457% on base percentage. So it's a very balanced offense, but some good numbers right there.
And again, you look at some of these players to watch. Adam Schiff, the Henlopen South Player of the Year, first team all-conference catcher, batting .472. Look for him to do some damage in this game as well. You mentioned T.J. Hooks, the first team all-conference DH. Quade Cannon, second team all-conference outfielder. Tristan McCray, your second team all-conference pitcher. Rhett Robbins was a honorable mention all-conference. Jonathan Tyndall, outfielder. He's your leadoff hitter. He's batting .321 for Lake Forest. And again, Leighton Webb just batting under .289. Some players to keep an eye on in that matchup with Sussex Central and Lake Forest. So that should be a good one there in round 1. And again, the winner is going to move on to take on the top seed in the tournament, a team that has won 16 in a row. That's the Cape Henlopen Vikings Day. They've gone pretty well so far this year after a little bit of a rough start there, 1-2.
Yeah, they were 1-2 right out of the gate, and like you said, if you include their Henlopen championship game win against Delmar over the weekend, they've won 16 in a row. Some quality wins along the way. They were the first team to knock off Appoquinimink this year. They also beat St. Mark's and had a nice win at Slasiana where they were down 5-0 early in that game and came back and took a 9-8 victory on the road. Slasiana's only home loss this year was to that Cape Henlopen team on that day. So it's a very balanced team and a solid team from top to bottom.
Yeah, Coach, over to you. Cape Henlopen, they get the #1 seed this year. They're going to get the winner of Sussex Central and Lake Forest, but they've been so impressive, obviously, especially as of late.
This is a storied program. Ben Evick does a great job. He's got 9 seniors, and what I love about this team, guys, is their pitching staff. Nick Cox, Josh Reinhold, and then a cast of relievers. So this is a team that's kind of built for this time of the year. You've got to have great pitching, and sometimes you get into that 3rd and 4th and even 5th games. Sometimes you've already exhausted your 1s and 2s, and you've got to have your 3s and 4s or guys that are the backups really produce. But this is a solid team. They do everything really well. We mentioned the quality wins. This is a clutch team. Senior laden, going to be really tough to beat.
Yeah, again, Cape Henlopen, your #1 seed. They get that first round bye. And again, Coach said that defense has been solid all season long, and they've been able to hit under pressure, which he has talked about as well being a big key for Cape Henlopen. Again, they'll get the winner of Sussex Central and Lake Forest. We'll keep moving down the bracket here, and that's our next matchup. #9, Sussex Tech, taking on #24, the Woodbridge Blue Raiders. Sussex Tech 12-5 on the year as they come into the postseason, led by head coach G.L. Jefferson. They've got wins over Lake Forest, Smyrna, Sally's, CR, and St. Mark's. So a nice cast of quality wins there in the regular season over playoff teams. Tough losses for them: Newark, Sussex Central, Indian River, Cape, and Delmar. So Sussex Tech, you're going to see the highlights rolling in the background here of the Ravens. Jason, a big game for them was the one we're seeing here against Salesian. I'm able to battle back, get a big win there. Sussex Tech been up and down this year, but definitely a team to look out for.
Yeah, and coming in that Salesian game, they had lost 3 in a row to even their record of 3-3, and I think that win kind of propelled them back on the right track. A great season down there. A team that hits very well. They beat Salesianum last year too. To beat Salesianum back-to-back years is good. A good win to end the season against a good St. Mark's team down there. They're playing well at the right time of the year. And they get that home game against Woodbridge.
Yeah, Coach, they get the Woodbridge Blue Raiders at home. Woodbridge sneaking in there as the 24 and final seed here in the playoffs this year. What have you seen out of Sussex Tech?
Well, I've always liked Sussex Tech's program, and they play extremely well at home. They defend their home field, so to speak. They end up, as you mentioned, with 2 really good wins. St. Mark's, as we alluded to, but also St. George is a team that did not make the playoffs. But I have a lot of respect for that program. So they're kind of coming in the right way. This team has always had really good pitching, and Coach Jefferson really does a nice job of getting everything kind of coordinated. He's got an excellent staff. So this is a team that I think is a little under the radar and might have a chance to have a couple good wins in this tournament.
Yeah, they've got some quality wins over some playoff teams as well, and they're going to take on the number 24 seeded Woodbridge Blue Raiders, led by head coach J.D. Messick, 10-8 in the regular season, 4-2 in the Henlopen South. Their first playoff appearance since 2012 for the Woodbridge Blue Raiders, so things trending up there. They start 6 underclassmen, only 14 total players on the roster for Woodbridge, Jay, so they've been doing some big things this year.
Yeah, and that Henlopen South, I mean, look already, you have a bunch of Henlopen South teams up there. That's a tough conference. They go 4-2 in there. With, like you said, another stat that jumped up, starting 6 underclassmen. I mean, a lot of these teams are senior laden, and you're starting 6 underclassmen, and you held your own in that tough Henlopen conference. So a very good showing for Woodbridge this year. And hey, congratulations, first time since 2012. Just to be in the baseball tournament is something, and they get to see a team in Sussex Tech, another Henlopen team, but from the northern side.
And Coach, tough matchup for Woodbridge against the 9-seeded Sussex Tech Ravens. But Woodbridge, again, like Jade mentioned, first playoff appearance since 2012. Things trending upwards for the Blue Raiders. I mean, we see them with success in the football season, even basketball this year being pretty good as well. And here they are making the tournament in the spring on the baseball field.
Well, this is a school, as we all know, has been around in a lot of playoff action. Maybe the first time in baseball in 10 years, but I don't care. J.D. Messick won 3 of 5 of the last games. And so that to me means they had pressure on them to qualify for the tournament. They won the games that mattered. Yes, it's a young team, but by now these young guys are old guys. And I also like their best and most solid player, Seth Smart. So he's got a good team. It's going to be a tough task going on the road against Sussex Tech, but his program is on an uptick. Congratulations to them for making the tournament. And
again, here is your DIAA Baseball Championship, the bracket on your screen as you see it there. Coach, you mentioned Seth Smart, 12 starts, 5-6, 90 strikeouts, a 3.38 ERA, but also batting .410 at the plate, 2 home runs for Seth Smart hitting-wise. And then Sam Schroeder, the sophomore, batting .364 on the year. He's got 4 doubles and 23 RBIs. Lexton Westcott, you know the last name.
And there's
Westcott,
a name we all know from football, absolutely.
Again, just the sophomore.
Too well.
He's hitting .264, 339 OBP, also 2 home runs and 17 RBIs. And again, Coach Messick said this group is really changing the culture of the program. Congratulations to the Blue Raiders' first playoff appearance since 2012. The winner there, though, is going to get the 8th seed in the team with a first-round bye, and that is the Concord Raiders, 14-3, led by head coach Tim Hamburger. You'll see the Concord highlights here from Delaware Live Sports in just a moment. But, Coach, they've won 8 out of their last 9 games for Concord. They finished 14-3 overall, 5-0 in Flight B, and they are your Flight B champions after the win in the championship game. Have you seen a little bit of Concord this year? They've been playing good baseball.
Yeah, yes, I have. And Timmy Hamburger, a good friend of mine, does a terrific job with this program. This program's been around. They're on an uptick. They've got good seniors, though, I'm sorry, only one senior, but really good, solid players beneath them. They have two really fine pitchers, Pye and Cruiser, who I really like. But Coach Hamburger's team always plays great fundamental baseball. They're a good defensive team. They've got excellent catching. They run the bases well. They do all those little things that allow you to have a 14-3 season. And I love the fact that they end up on a huge uptick, winning 8 of 9 of their last games. This is a really good, solid program. And they had a couple of losses that, that might have been a little unexpected. But Coach Hamburger, I know, will have this team ready to go in the playoffs.
Jay, here we go. Concord, they get a first-round bye. They get your 8 seed, so they'll get the winner of Sussex Tech and Woodbridge. What have you seen from the Concord Raiders so far here this year?
Yeah, I see a team that, another team that plays very well, very fundamentally, does not make many mistakes, a very balanced offense, and, like Coach said, when you finish the season winning 8 out of your last 9, it's always a good stat to have because you're going into the tournament hot, and they had a fantastic season, and they had a tough schedule. I know they play, a lot of people look and say they play in the Blue Hen Flight B, not as good as the Flight A, but they had a lot of good Flight A teams on their schedule, and also played a bunch of the Diamond State game teams that is a very strong conference. So, a very solid season for the Raiders.
And again, they're led by the sophomore utility player Jackson LaPearl, your Flight B Player of the Year. He hit .408, 19 RBIs, scored 23 runs, also 6-0 on the mound, 1.85 ERA. Some other players to look out for Concord. Dylan Cruiser, the Goldie Beacom pitching commit. You'll look out for him. He'll be on the mound. Andrew Furco, the shortstop, he hit .407 this year. The outfield anchored by Jarrell Wright, .348 batting average for him. Kevin Barrow, 2-year letter winner, mans the pitching staff. And you got Jack Pope, a team-leading 21 RBIs this season. Ryan Brooks is batting .333. Charlie Lynch has 17 RBIs. So the Concord Raiders, they're ready to do some damage here in the playoffs. They'll have to wait around to do it, but they'll get the winner of Sussex Tech and Woodbridge. So that's going to take us now to our next matchup. Number 13, Smyrna, and number 20, William Penn, are going to go at it on Thursday. We'll start with the Smyrna Eagles, guys, 11-7 on the year. They're led by head coach Vince Clemens. Let's check out some of these wins over playoff teams: Woodbridge, Newark Charter, Cesar Rodney, and Sussex Central. You look at some of these losses for Smyrna: Sally's, Sussex Tech, St. Mark's, Cape Apo, and Middletown. All great teams that ended up beating Smyrna. So tough situation there, Coach, with losing some of those games. But here are the Smyrna Eagles back in the playoffs, the 13 seed here in 2022. What do you think about the Eagles here in the playoffs?
They're another team that had to play themselves into the playoffs. So won 4 of their last 6. Vince Clemens really does a nice, solid job with them. That strength of schedule is terrific that they've played. So they are tournament tested, ready to go. They've had very good pitching throughout the year, especially against some rough competition. And they're a solid hitting team. So I think this is a team you've got to worry about simply because of their strength of schedule and how they've performed.
And Jason, over to you. Have you seen Smyrna at all? Obviously, some of those teams down a little bit more south, but going to be a great matchup with the team we've seen in William Penn. And what have you seen from Smyrna so far this year?
They play, again, we looked at their losses, a lot of quality losses. So that helps come tournament time because you played some of the quality teams. You might not have got that win, but you're battle tested. I have not had a chance to see Smyrna this year, but they always hit the ball well, and playing at home will help them in the first round. But a very good team, very balanced team.
Again, you look at some of those players to watch. The second baseman, the junior Connor Wilson, batting .447. He's got 21 hits, 14 RBIs this year for Smyrna. The senior DH, Derek Davis, batting .429 for the Eagles, and then James Tassoni, the catcher, .360. And then you got Robert Durnall, the outfield and pitcher. He does it both for Smyrna. He's batting .350 on the year. Smyrna, they've got some talented players over there. They can hit the baseball, and they're going to need it to do it against number 20 William Penn, guys, who we talked about has really turned it on here down the stretch as well. 10-8 coach, led, of course, we know the name Brandon Grigo. What a year he's having this year. And William Penn, they get the 20 seed, and we'll see how they do against Smyrna.
Well, they're on a roll as well, won 5 in a row, and another one of those good signs to me of how you play yourself into the playoffs and put yourself in a great position. I've seen the pitcher Grigo pitch, and he is tough. The lefty has a great 12-6 curveball. He mixes it in well with, I think, a underrated fastball. He's got good command of his pitches. Had a perfect game, so that tells you a little bit about his ability to compete and
we
to
have
control.
the clips right here. There's the perfect game and the grand slam. Here's the perfect game from Brandon Grigo. And again, what a year it's been for that young man.
He's terrific, and I know they like Hassan Turner, who's hit for a good average, but I'll tell you, their first baseman, Sean Hurley, is really tough. He's got excellent power, plays a good defensive first base. I think he's a very underrated player, and you've got to be very careful when he comes up with runners on base to know how to pitch around him or at least not give him anything to hit.
And Jason, 5 in a row for William Penn coming into the tournament led by head coach Kyle Hitchens. Those wins over Charter Wilmington, Cesar Rodney. Again, some tough losses against some quality playoff teams again here for William Penn. What do you see from the Colonials here in 2022?
Yeah, and you know, one thing in baseball, you have to have a 500 record to qualify, and they had to win 5 in a row to get in. Wow. You know, to get over that 500 at 10-8. So that tells me a lot because they played under some pressure. They played in that Flight A conference that has Middletown, St. George's, Appoquinimink. So really good. You know, but they are led by Grigo, and you know, if he's on the mound, it's tough to get offense against him going. He's got great pitching, like Bill said, a great curveball. So, you know, I'm sure Smyrna will probably see him on the mound in the first game. So, but again, you know, win 5 in a row just to make the tournament. So they were playoff tested games coming down the stretch. Yeah,
you want to be hot coming into the postseason. William Penn certainly is that. That should be a great matchup between William Penn and Smyrna in round number 1, and that's going to be a potential second-round matchup with the 4-seed Salesianum. And Jason, that's a team you've had to see a lot this year with Sally's. A few tough losses for them. Sussex Tech, Appo, Cape, and St. Mark's. Once again, all quality opponents. So what have you seen from Salesianum this year? They get the 4-seed, the first-round bye.
First of all, they have a great offense. You know, from top to bottom in that lineup. Connor Campbell has come back from injury mid-season on. He's batting cleanup now. Jack Dunyan hit a big home run against Archmere the other day. He's starting to get hot. Deuce Rosidlo, you know, a great third baseman. You know, so offensively, this team is really set. They play a great fundamental defense. And I think for the first time since I remember Sally's, their pitching depth this year is to me a lot. I mean, they even get quality games from their freshman, Sheridan, who's
he's been good this year.
He's been really good
down the stretch. I believe last game against Tower Hill.
Yeah, so you know, I think that's one thing where I like this Salesianum team this year. I think they have more pitching depth than I'm used to seeing the Salesianum team, but always a great offensive team.
And Coach, we're seeing the highlights from a game we did earlier in the year between Salesianum and Apple. That was Aiden Tesche taking one over the left field fence there. Coach, what have you seen from Salesianum? They get the 4-seed. They have a first-round bye. What have you seen from the Sows?
Well, first of all, you know Salesianum is going to compete extremely well. Ted Godfrey and his staff are one of the best staffs in the state. They really always have them ready to play. You talked about their offense, Jason. I'm going to talk about their defense. This is an incredibly solid team. Dunyan at shortstop is one of the slickest, smoothest fielding. He has wonderful soft hands. He has a cannon for an arm. He comes in and actually relief pitches from time to time, part of that extended staff that you mentioned. And I've had a chance to watch Sheridan pitch, Corey Sheridan, the freshman, 2 times this season. What I like about him is he knows how to make big pitches in the clutch. He struggled early in the season against Del Mar. He finished 5 innings. He walked a number of batters, hit a couple, but every time they had pressure on him, he was able to get a strikeout to end the inning. This guy really knows how to compete. He's got an excellent command of his pitches. He's really mature on the mound for a freshman. And then you talk about their second baseman and also pitcher Zach Zarnacki, and I really like him. He's a senior. He's really solid. You mentioned Campbell and Rosidlo. I mean, these guys are loaded with seniors, competitors, played other sports, Campbell and Rosidlo in particular. I really like this team. They're very solid. Ted Godfrey does a great job. They're ready for a big run. And what I like about them, guys, they had a tough 1-run loss at home to Cape. Then they go over to St. Mark's and lose a tough one, 10-9. And then they finish out the season on a high note, winning 3 in a row. So they didn't hang their heads. They competed, as you're always going to see from Salesianum. So I thought they really kind of not resurrected their season, but kind of got it reversed in the right way going into the playoffs. They'll be very tough to beat.
Yeah, you mentioned battle-tested, a lot of talent over there for Salesianum. And again, you never like to look ahead going too much, but Christmas could come early in the quarterfinals with a potential Salesianum-St. Mark's matchup with the 4-5 seedings. But again, a lot can happen before the quarterfinals. So we'll keep it moving there. Salesianum, a team definitely to watch there in round number 2. We'll keep it moving to your 12-21 matchup. The 12-seeded Archmere Hawks going to get number 21 Charter School of Wilmington in a rematch from earlier in the year. And Jason, we had a chance to check out both of these teams a little bit earlier. Archmere up and down this season, obviously led by head coach Nick Sand, who's done a great job over there. What have you seen from the Hawks?
Yeah, Archmere, they had a tough stretch. I know it says they've lost 4 of their last 5, but some of those losses were to Middletown, Salesianum, a couple of those teams in that Diamond State Conference, which I think is one of the best conferences in baseball from top to bottom. So, and they added St. Elizabeth's this year, that conference, so another quality opponent there. Archmere, what I like is, they're 1 through 9, very balanced team hitting-wise, and pitcher Keene. I've seen Keene pitch a couple times. He's really good, really great command, and he'll keep Archmere in any game that he pitches. And
Coach Archmere and Charter School of Wilmington, what do you see in that matchup?
Well, of course, my great friend Nick Santa does a terrific job. He's got a terrific staff over there, and all of us remember one of the most natural baseball players that's ever come through the state of Delaware, Billy Phillips, who went on to play at Maryland as one of the assistants. But it's a really wonderful staff. They've got a great team chemistry. The first baseman, Nick Zoo, is terrific. He's also a co-valedictorian, very smart, going to Princeton. He's a terrific fielding first baseman. He has great power. The 2 pitchers, Matt Keene, I think, is really tough out on the mound. And Karsten Kaiser, a sophomore, had an early season win over DMA where he pitched extremely well. But their big disruptor is their quarterback and basketball player, Chris Albero. He leads off. One of the great competitors in this state. He is so dangerous. If he gets on, he can go first to third on a bunt. He reads the ball extremely well, a really fine hitter, an excellent center fielder. So this is a young team, not a lot of seniors. So let's see how they perform down the stretch. But I know Coach Santa will have his team ready to go, and they have some really key components who are playing at a high level.
Again, Chris Alberi, you talked about him. How about 3-sport athlete there, right? Quarterback state
champions. You gotta love that. It's
just
not that doesn't happen as much anymore, and he's so dedicated to his craft at all of them. He's really a pleasure to coach.
Again, he'll score touchdowns. He'll throw some on the football field, get some buckets on the hardwood, and he gets some hits on the baseball diamond as well.
And he also has a cannon. I saw him the first game against DMA. He had a ball. He caught it at the warning track and almost threw August out at home plate. It was a bang play. So he's got a great arm out there in center field. I would not run on him.
So again, Archmere Hawks, they are your 12 seed. They get a rematch with the number 21 seeded Charter School of Wilmington Force. Chris Eddy, their head coach, wins over Archmere, Concord, and CR. We talked about this rematch. Jason, we'll start with you here. Wasn't their best game by any means that night with the weather and stuff at Frawley Stadium against Charter School of Wilmington versus Archmere. Charter played really well that night. Here they are. They're going to get Archmere again. They're 9-9 coming into this one.
Yeah, and Wilmington Charter was, I believe, 1-5 going into that game against Archmere. So I think that kind of springboarded. That win gave them some confidence. Coach Eddy, what can you say about him? He's the AD. He also stepped into the baseball coach. He played for the Blue Rocks. A solid guy. And they played a tough schedule again. Another Diamond State Conference team finished 9-9 and. Like you said, they had that win against Archmere, so that's got to give them a little confidence going into that road game at Claymont.
Yeah, Coach, round 2 here for these 2 teams, but Chris Eddy and the Force, they got some experience this year on that roster, and they're going to look to try to do something that's tough to do, and that's beat a team twice in the same season.
Chris does a really good job, and he got that team turned around after that slow start to play, I think, their best game of the year. I think I've seen Charter play 5 times this season. What impresses me about them, he's got a nice blend of old and young players. 2 of his best pitchers, Brady Arsh and Will Outslayer, both sophomores, and they are tough. But the player that really makes them go is their center fielder, the lefty who comes in and pitches some, Justin Terranova, who's a senior. I really like this guy. He's kind of the heart and soul of their team. He leads those young guys. They'll be tough to beat. They obviously have the confidence that they had beaten Archmere earlier on, so this is going to be an important game for both teams to be at their best. But I think Chris Eddy does an excellent job over there at Charter.
And you're going to see some of these highlights for the Wilmington Charter Force from the game against Archmere. They were really out hitting the ball over there at Frawley Stadium. Again, look out for the senior shortstop Sam Lefton as well. He had a great game when we saw him at Frawley against Archmere, as well as the junior Kevin Callahan. They're going to be the ones to get things going for the Force at the plate. But again, that was a almost flawless performance out of the Force back in that win over Archmere at Frawley Stadium. They're going to have to try and do it again against the Auks. Again, your another first-round matchup set for Thursday at 4 p.m., Archmere and the Charter School of Wilmington. The winner, though, they're going to earn a date with head coach Matt Smith and the St. Mark's Spartans. St. Mark's 13-5. Lost 3 of their last 5 to come down to close the regular season, but you all know how tough that schedule is. They play quality opponents all season long. We know about the success that head coach Matt Smith has had in the postseason, multiple-time champion. You took out some of these wins: Lake Forest, Archmere, William Penn, Delmar, Smyrna, Conrad, DMA, and Sally's. That's all playoff team wins there, and some of those 4 out of those 5 losses coming to Cape, Appo, Sally's, and Sussex Tech. So quality losses there as well. Coach, what have you seen from the Spartans this year? They get the 5 seed in the first round bye.
Well, this is always one of the most dangerous teams in the state. They're extremely well coached. You mentioned Matt Smith's name. Steve Harden and others Cole Mary do a great job over there. They get off to a good early start, then they kind of slow down a little bit because of their schedule, but then they bounce back at the end, and they have played a really difficult schedule. I believe St. Mark's has the most bonus points in the state, so if that's a reflection of strength of schedule, it is to me. A lot of players at every position, great depth. I really like Jack Burns, the curveball specialist. He can pitch. Garrett Quinn, their shortstop, is very versatile. But I'll tell you a player that's underrated on that team is an ex-basketball player that I coached, Hayden Bauerbach. And I'll tell you what, he's moved into the catching role here late in the season, and he frames the ball. He's a big man. He's 6'5". He does a great job behind the plate, a lot of poise, a terrific arm, and his hit for power late in the center. He's going to Scranton with a couple of the Sally's players. Connor Campbell and Ryan Residlo are also going to Scranton. And another player I really like is their shortstop, James Buffone, has done a really nice job. And don't forget about their third baseman senior, Andrew Winger. So this is a solid defensive team. They do all the little things well. If they need to bunt, they can. They get great pitching. And this is a team that's built for the playoffs as well. Matt Smith, it's great to have him back. He's had some other issues, health issues, but he's battled on. A great friend of mine, and it's so great to see him back in the dugout.
Absolutely could not
and we
agree
wish him
more
the
with
very
you.
best.
Absolutely, and again, he knows how to win in the postseason. So there you are at the 5 seed. Jason, St. Mark's gets that first round bye. You got a little Sally St. Mark's 4-5 in the seedings here this year. What have you seen from the Spartans, and what do you expect to see come postseason?
Yeah, I mean, again, another team that, you look at their 5 losses: Cape, Appo, Sally, Sussex Tech, Middletown. All teams that are
Quality playoff
right,
opponents.
And they're very, it's a typical St. Mark's team. Like Bill said, they will do the small things, but they also can hit for power. They're great in the field, great pitching staff from top to bottom. So a very balanced team, a team that, because of their name, St. Mark's, is used to playing for these deep runs. Their coaches know how to play in these type of games and get their players to play. So I think this is a dangerous team sitting right there in the 5 seed.
St. Mark's, they get the winner of Archmere and the Charter School of Wilmington. Now we're going to head to the bottom half of the bracket here, and that gets started with your 15-seeded St. Elizabeth Vikings taking on the 18-seeded Caesar Rodney Rioters. Let's start with the Vikings from St. Elizabeth. They finished the regular season 11-7, led by head coach Tom Beddow. Won 6 of their last 8, so started to put some stuff together there. Wins over Newark, Charter, Archmere, William Penn, and Tower Hill. Jason, the Vikings, again, 6 of their last 8, trying to get a little hot before the postseason here as they're going to take on Caesar Rodney.
Yeah, and some quality wins. That Tower Hill program, is a quality win down the stretch. Newark Charter, a quality win. Archmere, a quality win. William Penn, another playoff team. So it's quality wins coming down the stretch, 6 of the 8. Coach Beddow does a great job with them. At the beginning of the year, I think a lot of people didn't expect St. E's to maybe get 11 wins this year. But he's done a really solid job. Some great pitching. They play some good defense, and it's a team that I think knows how to win come this state tournament time.
Coach, St. Elizabeth's?
Love the way they closed out the season. Tommy Beddoes just a terrific guy and a really great coach, but he's also got one of the really historic coaches in the state of Delaware on his staff, Bob Colburn, who used to coach at St. Andrews, and I don't know how they let him go, but he's helping out St. Elizabeth's, and I think that's part of their maturity and their great play this year. I love their shortstop, Luke Trout. He's a senior. He's also the relief pitcher, and his younger brother, Matt Trout, a sophomore, is really their number one ace. He's got great stuff, a really hard-nosed competitor on the mound. He can win with his B game, but he certainly has a really good A game, an outstanding fastball, curveball, battles out there. And then one of their other underrated players that I like a lot is their third baseman and also probably their number 3 pitcher. Luke Trout comes in as a reliever, is Ben Campbell, a junior. I really like his play down at third base. An excellent defensive player, an excellent arm, and is a very viable pitcher if they need him in this as they go down the playoff run. But this is a good team, and it's really fun to see Coach Beto and his team get going again this season.
Again, 11-7, they are good for the 15 seed come Thursday, where they'll meet the Caesar Rodney Riders, led by head coach Jeff Gravatt. Wins over Woodbridge, Lake Forest, Laurel, and Archmere. Those are your playoff teams. And again, some of those losses, all to playoff teams: Delmar, Cape, Middletown, Sussex Tech, Sussex Central, Wilmington Charter, Smyrna, and William Penn. So we're seeing these teams are playing each other, and wins and losses are coming to everybody here. But the player to watch here, Jason, is going to be the X factor, and that's the senior, Andrew Rigby.
Yeah, he's 4-0 on the season, but I think his 2 best outings were games that were no decision because he came out and tied games. But he threw 5 shutout innings against the 7-seeded Delmar and threw 5 innings, allowing 1 run against crosstown rival Dover in a 3-2 extra inning victory. So he's the X factor. He's great on the mound, and he's also a 2-time all-conference player. He bats third and leads the team with 18 runs batted in.
So again, it starts with Andrew Rigby, Coach Caesar Rodney. They've got some other players that have been really helping out this year, and 10-8, and they've been looking good a little bit here too.
They look very good. They passed the eye test. There's a good athlete at every position on the field. You mentioned Rigby as a pitcher, and I really like him. He's got an outstanding curveball, good command of his other pitches, but he's a really good fielding first baseman, a lefty, so he's obviously very capable of their hits for power. But I'll tell you, the catcher, Chris Roscoe, has excellent power. Several home runs on the season, hit 2 in one game. The backup, one of their other backup pitchers is Alex Bauer, who plays shortstop, and he's a really outstanding athlete. But I think the key to their team is their leadoff batter and third baseman, senior Mason Werde, and he's going to William and Mary. He's not going to. I don't believe he's going to play baseball. Maybe he plays club down there, but obviously a very smart young man. Yeah. Plays a great third base, an excellent fielder. He's kind of their leader, an excellent hitter, and a really solid, mature player. So I like this Caesar Rodney team a lot. They have high capability and potentially high hopes.
And again, the junior Cam Lawson batting cleanup for them, 372, 7 doubles for him. And then Jackson Maroney, he's batting in the two-hole, a team-high 21 base hits, and he's batting 339. So there you have it for Caesar Rodney and St. Elizabeth's 15 versus 18 there. And the winner is going to get a team that's looked very good this season. That is the Conrad Red Wolves, we're going to say, led by head coach Kelly Wilson. A few Wilsons over there on that coaching staff, and they've got some big wins over Wilmington Charter, Concord, William Penn, St. E's, DMA, Middletown, Archmere, Newark Charter, Tower Hill. It could go on, but those are all your playoff wins. So, Jason, they've been really getting after it this year, and Tyler Perung is a big member, or a big reason as to why they've been so good offensively.
Yeah, hitting 538 to start, on base 5. Again, half the time, 60% of the time. 28 hits, 4 home runs, 27 RBIs. He gets it done. He's the leader of a very solid offensive team. Like you said, their 3 losses are to 3 teams in Appo, St. Mark's, and Sally's, the who's who of Delaware baseball. So a very good team, very solid team. And again, their pitching depth, I'm sure Bill could talk about it, is another key for that team. They're led by some dominant pitchers.
Yeah, Coach, 15-3 on the season. That's good for the 2 seed. So the Red Wolves, they get a first-round bye. The 2 seed in the tournament, you're seeing the highlights on your screen now. Well, what have you seen from the Red Wolves this year?
Well, this is a very legit team. They could easily win this championship, won 6 in a row, a very difficult schedule. Coach Wilson does a great job. The pitcher that I really like, Tyler Reinert, a senior, he has a great fastball, locates it well, keeps it down in the zone, competes extremely well. You mentioned the third baseman and sometimes relief pitcher Peering, and I'll tell you what, this guy has spent a lot of time in the weight room. He has really improved his physique. These home runs he hits are line drives. They leave the park. I almost got whiplash watching one of them over at Conrad in a game I was scouting. A terrific player. Very solid up the middle. Their catcher, Brett Walmsley, a junior, is really good behind the plate, moves well, has an excellent arm, and is also a great power hitter. And a player that might be kind of under the radar over there because they have so many of these seniors who are so outstanding is they're sometimes DH, sometimes he plays in the field, Patrick Blanche, a junior, and I've seen him come up with some really big hits. Not necessarily their best hitter, but I'll tell you what, you've got to be very careful with him. He's got good power, sneaky power as well. So this is a really solid team, and I expect them to go very deep in this tournament.
And again, Jason, we had a chance, I believe, earlier in the year to do that game against Newark Charter at Frawley Stadium, and it was just hits up and down the lineup for the Conrad Red Wolves. They're going to be a tough out. They are your 2 seed with a first-round bye. They're going to get the winner of St. Elizabeth's and Caesar Rodney. We'll keep it moving here to our 10 and 21 matchup. In our 10 seed, the Middletown Cavaliers, who there might not be a hotter team here heading into the postseason. They get the 10 seed where they will meet number 23, the Sanford Warriors. So that's your 10-23 matchup. Let's start with the Middletown Cavaliers. Chandler Swalm, their head coach, won 7 in a row to close out the regular season, guys, and those are against all quality opponents. So 7 straight for Middletown, and they're hot right now, Coach. They look good heading into the postseason.
They're not under the radar. They've got everybody's attention. 7 in a row, great schedule. Coach Swam does a great job. Talk about a team that passes the look test. These guys are really solid, very athletic at every position. Their catcher is outstanding. I talked about Walmsley from Conrad and Bauerbach from St. Mark's and others, but I'll tell you what, this Brendan Timmons can really play. He's good behind the plate. He's got a giant arm, and he hits for extreme power. He's really difficult. If you can pitch around him, you can. This is a team that hit 4 home runs against a really good curveball of Jack Burns over at St. Mark's. Legit home runs. Zach Sophie, their first baseman and pitcher, he has outstanding power, a lefty. And then Quentin Windett is another pitcher that I really like. He's kind of their big game pitcher, whether he pitches in the first game or the second. He's really solid. Fastball, curveball, changeup, he's got it all, competes really well on the mound. I really like him. So this is a senior-laden team that's playing excellent baseball at the end of the year. They hit for power, they've got excellent pitching and play solid defense. They'll be a tough out.
Again, Middletown really hot, Jason. Again, a 10 seed, you're like, whoa, a 10 seed is Middletown. We saw the same thing maybe a few years ago with Appo as that 9 or 11 seed. They wound up in the championship game. What do you expect to see out of the Middletown Cavaliers?
Yeah, I remember I said earlier, I thought, 8, 9, 7, 8, 9 teams.
How many teams have a
Middletown is one of those teams. I just think that, from top to bottom, I got a chance to see them against Louisiana. Sophie was playing in the outfield that game. Right field, made 2 great diving catches in that game at the time to keep Middletown in the lead. So, and he's also come in the last couple games and pitched relief in the 7th inning and got a couple quality saves. So I just think right now they are one of the hottest teams coming in. And they're all quality wins down the stretch.
And guys, you mentioned all these players to watch. Quinn Windett, 6-1 on the season, a 1.3 ERA. He's a first-team all-conference pitcher. Zach Sophie leads the state in runs with 31, 6 home runs, first-team all-conference. Brendan Timmons, coach you talked about, leads the state in home runs as well as RBIs, 8 home runs, 37 RBIs for Timmons. And then the 2 standout sophomores are the twin brothers, Carter Boyd and Brandon Boyd. Carter anchors the defense at shortstop. He batted over 350, and then his brother Brandon, who batted 400 on the season, had an OBP of over 500. So that is your Middletown Cavaliers. Like you said, Coach, they're going to be a tough out and a tough matchup for your 23-seeded Sanford Warriors, led by head coach Jamie Clark. They are 11-7 on the year. A fairly young team, though, Jason, only 3 senior starters.
Yeah, young team, and one of their players to watch, Brady Fox, is their #1 pitcher. He's a sophomore lefty, good velocity and command of his slider. He competes, and that's what you like as a coach. You want to see a pitcher that can compete. He's 4-2 with a 2.78 ERA and 66 strikeouts on the year, so, solid pitching staff for this young Warriors team. And like I said, he's only a sophomore also.
And Coach, Sanford, they get the 23 seed here, though. They're on the rise a little bit as well here the last couple years. Here they are as the 23. Will they meet a tough Middletown team here in round number 1? But what have you seen maybe from the Warriors?
Well, Jamie Clark's done a really nice job, their head coach, and this is a team that's on the upswing. The Independent Conference is a really solid conference. They're only going to have 2 participants this year in the tournament, Sanford and Tower Hill. But I really like this. I really like this team. They've played well at the end of the season. You mentioned Brady Fox. The thing that when I've watched him pitch, that shows me what a good player is his poise on the mound. He can win with his maybe B- game. As you mentioned, he competes well, but I just like his command. I like his poise, his maturity for a young player. This is a young team, only 3 seniors, but they're playing really well at the end of the year, and it's really nice to see Sanford be able to participate in this tournament.
And again, Brady Bowman, he's their number 2. He's having a good year, 5-1, 2.31 ERA. And again, they got some hitters as well. Senior leadoff hitter, the third baseman, Colton Ferguson. I'm sure you know that way, batting .412. We talked about Brady Fox. Tyler Getz batting .356. He's just a sophomore. And then the freshman Ryan Timmons at .341. So again, they've got some young talent there. They're only going to improve as they get older. And again, here they are at the playoffs already this season. So look out for Sanford, a tough matchup with number 10 seeded Middletown. But there's some talent on that roster as well. And the winner is going to get number 7, Delmar. Delmar 10-6 on the year. Good enough for the 7 seed, led by head coach Jordan Johnson. And Jason, they've got wins over CR, Laurel, Sussex Tech, Indian River, Lake Forest, and Woodbridge. So those teams kind of wins and losses against each other throughout the regular season. What have you seen from Delmar here as they get the 7 seed here in 2022?
Yeah, I got a chance to see them against Lazy Annam, and a game where they were down 3-1 going into the 7th, ended up taking the lead, and then Sally's came back, and it was back and forth as they played, I believe, 12 innings that day, that Saturday up at Lazy Annam. So a really, again, a great team. I know you look at the record and go 10-6, but they played in that tough Henlopen South. Like you said, they kind of beat each other up. And they have quality losses against Sally's, St. Mark's, Sussex Central, Cape Henlopen. So a really balanced team from top to bottom.
And Coach, what have you seen from Delmar this year? I know they're way down south for us here. They get the 7 seed, a great year at 10-6 for head coach Jordan Johnson and company.
Well, you talk about a great sports town and a sports high school. Football, basketball on a big upswing at Delmar, and now their baseball program. I saw that same game that you did against Sally's early in the year. Coach Jordan Johnson does a nice job. The pitcher in that game who started, Andrew Calloway, I was really impressed with him. He's a junior. Talk about a fighter out on the mound. He competes every pitch. He's got an outstanding command of his fastball and his curveball. He's also a very good positional player. They usually move him to first base when he doesn't pitch. I also like another player, Bryce Hendricks, who's also a pitcher and plays in the field. It's a young team. They have competed really well. Interesting. It just tells you can get in with a 10-6 record, only 16 games. Most teams played 18, so their strength of schedule was very solid. And if you think about it, their last 2 games of the season, they had to play Cape Henlopen in the championship, but also the final game of the season. They were shut out both times, but I guarantee you they're tournament ready. They found out what they need to work on here in these days before the second round, so they'll be ready to play. This is a nice team. I like the way they play, and I was very impressed with just the way they hung in against Sally's on an early, windy, cold Saturday on the road, coming up from Delmar on a Saturday morning. I thought they really showed up well. So this is a tough team, and watch for them. This pitcher, Callaway, is a real deal.
Now you mentioned it, first-team all-conference pitcher and first baseman. West Virginia commit Kyle Shepard, the first-team outfielder. He'll be going to Del Tech to further his baseball career. Tucker Pearson was second-team shortstop, and Ryder Keedell, second-team third baseman. Some players to watch there for Delmar. Well, let's keep it moving here as we get to our 14 and 19 matchup. Your 14 seed Indian River at 13-5 will be taking on your number 19 seed Newark Charter at 9-9. Let's start, guys, with Indian River. They are your 14 seed at 13-5, led by head coach Stephen Longo. Coach, they've got wins over Sussex Tech, William Penn, and Newark Charter as they get ready for this postseason appearance.
Well, this is a rematch. They played on the 13th of May. They won 5-0. They won 6 of their last 7. This is a team that's very solid. Steve Longo has a great reputation downstate, coaches his teams up extremely well. They've played some really difficult teams throughout the year, 13-5. I really like this team. You don't hear a lot about them, but they'll be a very tough out for Newark Charter.
And Jay, over to you. And have you seen Indian River at all this year? Maybe a few times, but 13-5, again, putting together a real nice season and enough to get the 14 seed here and get Newark Charter in round 1.
Yeah, and like Coach said, it's a rematch. He just played not too long ago, May 13th. So, they've seen each other. Roman Keith is a player to watch. He's a batting .526, on-base percentage .616, 3 home runs, 30 RBIs. And here's a name that you might recognize, the last name, Jace Jarman is their second baseman. Of course,
Absolutely.
I don't know how related he was to that star quarterback there at Indian River, but again, I think it's a team that I haven't been able to see much this year, but a team that has 13 wins in a tough Henlopen conference. So, I think they'll be ready for this game.
Again, they're going to get the 9-19 and seeded Newark Charter Patriots, led by Chuck Clausius and company. William Penn, Charter School of Wilmington, and Concord. Those 3 big wins for the Patriots this year. Some losses to, almost all the losses coming to some playoff opponents there. Jason, I'll start with you here for Newark Charter. We did have a game where we saw them play Conrad earlier in the year, but like we said against Archmere, not one of their best performances. Then kind of everything was going wrong in that game. But 9-9, they have some good wins. What have you seen from the Patriots?
Yeah, again, you look at that record, you go 9-9. They played in that Diamond State Conference, and like you said, you look at their losses, their non-conference losses, the Sallies and Middletown, so in Smyrna. So, again, they get to travel down to Indian River, but they played Indian River on May 13th. So it's a game now they can make the adjustments and see if they can, this time go down there and get the win.
And Coach, what have you seen for Newark Charter this year? A 500 team. I've had a chance to check them out a few times. Again, we talked about the one matchup against Conrad. But what have you seen from the Patriots here in 2022? Again, 9-9. They do get the 19 seed here in another playoff appearance.
Started the year off with 5 straight wins and then had to win the last game of the season to get into the playoffs and beat a ranked team, Concord, 8-6. So I give them a lot of credit. Chuck Clausius is the head coach. He's got Chris and Dennis Murphy. Chris Murphy was an outstanding pitcher at St. Mark's a few years ago. His father's a great baseball guy and a great baseball family. So this pitching staff gets really coached extremely well. This is a team that plays good defense. Their top hitters in the first 2 spots are really dangerous on the base pass. I like their starting pitcher, Matt Benninghoff, who had to start the game against Concord and pitched extremely well against a really good team. So this is a very solid team. Their team travels well. I think they'll give Indian River a real battle down there. They're very well coached, and I think getting that big win just to get in the playoffs has got to be a big emotional boost for their team.
Again, Newark Charter 9-9. That's your 19th seed. Should be a good one. Indian River and Newark Charter on Thursday at 4 p.m. And the winner is going to get the team that's played in the last 2 state championship games, no matter the seeding. That is head coach Mike Torres and his Appoquinimink Jaguars. They are your 3 seed. They get a first-round bye, 16-2 on the year. And like I said, guys, they've been in the championship the last 2 times. We've had one here, a little break in 2019, 2020 due to the pandemic. Wins over this season over St. Mark's, Sally's, Conrad, Sussex Central, and DMA, all top opponents there. 2 losses coming to Middletown, who was maybe the hottest team in the state heading in. And, of course, Cape Henlopen, who's won 16 in a row. And Coach Appoquinimink, they look good once again. Coach Mike Torres seems like year in and year out has those guys ready to play.
Mike does a great job. He's got a terrific staff. One of the great ADs in the state of Delaware, Chris Mascara, who was a terrific athlete at St. Mark's just a few years ago. He really helps this staff out as well. It's a first-class operation down there. They have great experience. They have 9 seniors, so this is a team that's really built for the playoffs. A lot of experience. They've got terrific players throughout. The young man that I like, the pitcher, the lefty Aiden Deacons, who we saw pitch in the game we did down there, Nick, I was really impressed with him. He's not even sneaky fast. He can overpower you. He's got a great curve. He competes extremely well on the mound. I really like this team an awful lot, the way they play. I mean, as you mentioned, they've won it and then been in the finals the other year since we had no games at all, unfortunately, due to COVID in 2020. But this is a really tough team. They will be a really difficult out in this really well-balanced seeded team aspect.
And Jason, me and you were talking before we went on the air, and that's one thing we highlighted was we love that pitching staff that they got over there. They got 2 high-quality starters that can really let it fly. And they're going to be a team to watch out for. Your 3 seed here with a first-round bye, but when you talked about 8, 9 teams that have a chance to win it, Appo near the top of that list.
Yeah, you know, and what can you say about Evan Bolden? I mean, as a pitcher, he's 5-0 in 6 appearances with a 1.73 ERA. And when, you know, hitting, he's .414 with 17 RBIs, on-base percentage of .469. And when he's not pitching, he plays a great, great defensively out there in the infield. So, you know, it's a solid team from top to bottom. You get quality play in the outfield, and Chase Fleming gives them. So, you know, they're just a team that
depth.
Yeah, has the depth that a lot of teams don't have.
Yeah,
Guys, one other point I wanted to mention. In close games, 3 runs or less, they're 7-2 on the season.
Yeah.
So again, I think it's that experience, that coaching. In fact, they've been around, but that's a huge aspect because you know you're going to have some really close games in the playoffs.
Yeah, and you talked about some of those guys, Owen Parrish, one of those outfielders, Travis Peden and Cam Coco, all 3 of those guys batting over 300 in that outfield, double-digit RBIs for 2 out of the 3. Chase Fleming, the utility man, 395 batting average of 12 RBIs, a 536 OBP. He's first-team all-conference utility. Hunter Hitchens at second base, 333 as well. And you mentioned Deacons, 2.53 ERA in his 8 starts. He is 5-3 on the year. And again, we talked about it. A lot of these guys, we talked about experience. We're part of those teams that went to the championship, have won a championship. Yep. So here they are again, and they've been here and done that. So we'll see if that experience comes into play. And Lorenzo Carrier doing big things down at the University of Miami, hitting some home runs down there for the Hurricanes. So we're all still watching Lorenzo and wish him the best of luck down in college as well. But that is your 3rd-seeded Appoquinimink Jaguars. They're going to get the winner of Indian River and Newark Charter. Now on to our final matchup of the first round. That's going to be 11-seeded Tower Hill taking on the number 22 seed Laurel. So Laurel putting together a nice terms of year in terms of athletics here this year in 2022. Football state champs back in the fall. Some success on the hardwood as well. And then here they are with a playoff appearance in baseball. But let's start with the 11-seed Tower Hill, led by head coach Billy Cannon. They've won 5 of their last 6, Jason, coming into this one. And again, we had a chance to talk to Coach here before the show, and he said the kids, they're ready to go. Very good pitching, timely hitting all season long, and they'll be ready as an 11 seed here in round 1.
Yeah, and, you know, they have Marty Coyne, who's a heck of a pitcher for him, heck of an athlete. He was on their basketball team that won the state championship.
Hit the outside shot, right, Coach?
Yeah.
You've seen that?
Yeah.
Just a few.
Just a few, right.
He and Davis playing, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so, you know, and he's, you know, a solid pitcher. And, you know, they played a tough schedule. They won 13 games. Like Bill said, an independent conference with Sanford and, you know, Tower Hill and Friends didn't make it this year, but they've always had a quality program down there. So it's a tough conference, and I really like their team, and you know, they get a chance to host a state tournament game this year.
And Coach, and when we talked to head coach Billy Cannon, he said seniors, great leadership, but the young guys have really stepped up and helped them achieve how they got the 11 seed at 13-5.
Well, this starts at the top. This is one of the classier programs in the state. Billy Cannon, he happens to be a good friend of mine, as a full disclosure, but he helps coach football. He's got Paul Gilderlane, who's been around a long time. And then the head basketball coach at Tower Hill after that big championship, Pat Kaiser, also assists on the staff. But Billy does a great job. This is a team that does not beat themselves. They play excellent defense. They run the bases well. They know how to bunt. They're great situationally, both offensively and defensively. You mentioned Coyne, who I think is a great competitor, but they got some really late game, big pitching efforts from Davis Bland, that long-range shooter in basketball. A big man, has a great glove move, conceals the ball very well. I really like his action. I don't care what they do. This is a team that you don't want to play because they're going to be prepared. They're going to play hard. They're extremely well coached, and they, much like a St. Mark's team, they do all those little things so well. They do not beat themselves.
And again, they are going to get the 22-seeded Laurel Bulldogs, 10-7 in the regular season. Guys led by head coach Eric Teagle. Wins over Lake Forest and Indian River. A few of those losses coming to playoff teams. And again, coach saying they've got some keys, Jason, that they want to follow if they're able to pick up some wins. And some of those keys, again, pitchers have to throw strikes. You got to play solid defense and be patient at the plate. again, that's what Laurel's going to have to do if they want to look to beat Tower Hill this week, or excuse me, this week on Thursday.
Yeah, and another thing is what they do offensively is they put the ball in play. They don't strike out much, and what that does is forces the defense to make the plays. A very solid team, so that's what they're going to have to do. They work extremely hard, and like you said, they played in, look at some of those key losses: Delmar, Cape, Woodbridge, CR, Sussex Tech. A lot of quality teams down there, so I think they'll be ready. And like you said, the key I think for them is their pitchers have to throw strikes.
And Coach, what have you seen, if anything, out of Laurel so far this year? Again, they're the 22 seed. They come in at 10-7, and we talked about not wanting to have to play Tower Hill in round 1. Well, that's what the Bulldogs are tasked with this Thursday.
Well, what I like about this team is they were 3-7 and won their last 7 games. That tells you a little bit about that program that Eric Teagle's done. Only 3 seniors. They battle hard, and 3 of those 7 wins were Lake Forest, Indian River, and I mentioned Dover earlier. They're not in the tournament, but they are a really quality team from the Henlopen and North. So this is a team that, like many others, played themselves into the tournament, are playing their best baseball at the end of the year. They're obviously solid. Everybody needs to pitch well and play good defense and put the ball in play. But I think this is a team that's up and coming. I'm just really impressed with their resiliency to be able to battle back after a slow start when they probably did not look like a playoff team to get themselves in.
That is a perfect point there. Laurel 22 seed taking on Tower Hill, the 11 seed, in our final first round matchup. Again, all your first rounds taking place Thursday at 4 p.m. So the winner of Tower Hill and Laurel will get your defending state champions. That is Delaware Military Academy. They get your 6th seed, 14-4 on the year, led of course by head coach Aaron Lewis, coming off that championship, as I just alluded to. Wins over St. East, Sussex Central, Middletown, Tower Hill, and both Wilmington and Newark Charter. And Coach, we'll start with you here. DMA 14-4 record once again looks very good this year in 2022, defending state champions from last year. They do return some talent, lost some talent as well, but right here back in a position to make a run.
Well, this is a team coming off a championship last year, loses their first game on the road at the beginning of the year to Archmere, and a really well played, one of the best played baseball games of the year. Aaron Lewis was a great player himself, a multi-sport athlete. I've always had great respect for Aaron and his program.
Does a great job.
He's got a terrific player in this Tyler August. Now, it's pretty good genetics there. Brian August played at St. Mark's, played at Delaware, played in the Yankees, and now doing an outstanding job at Wilmington U. They just actually got eliminated in the regionals, but won their conference, had an outstanding season. So this young man really knows how to play baseball, and he's also a terrific wrestler as well. I love the way he competes. He battles. He's got outstanding stuff, a terrific fastball. He's a great hitter when he's a great hitter whether he pitches or plays in the field, but he's a very dangerous player, and I just really like this team. I like the fact that a lot of expectations on them, of course. Start off a little slow, found a way to get going, had a couple of close, tough losses, but battle. This is a team that competes well. They're very well coached. When you have an outstanding player like Tyler August and others, you're always going to be in every game you play.
And again, you'll see the DMA highlights coming up on your screen here in a second. 14-4, Jason. We mentioned Tyler August. We love our two-sport athletes. Well, he's doing that as well. A wrestling state champion in the winter, and obviously a baseball state champion last spring. So big things from Tyler. You also got Drew Simpson, Mason McCloskey, Mason Rossiter. Those guys returning. Those are your 4 captains for the Seahawks this year. Again, in a prime position, they do get the 6th seed, Jay, down at the bottom half of that bracket. Well, again, we'll talk about the quarterfinal matchups potentially here in a second, but what have you seen from DMA here in 2022?
Yeah, what I like is the last few weeks they've got August back on the mound. He had that stretch where for a while where he was unavailable to pitch, but he's come on. He's really pitched well against Appaquiddick to close out the season, going 6 2/3 strong innings. So, it's a team again that, like you said, they're the defending state champions. So they've been in this tournament. They know what needs to get done. I agree with Coach. I was at that first game of the year against Archmere. It was a very well-played game. Could have went either way. Archmere got a run late in that game, to seal it. I think in that game, DMA's defense was not where it wanted to be. They're playing very very solid defense right now, and a team that doesn't make the mistakes I think that they were making at the beginning of the year.
Well, again, there they are sitting at the 6th seed here, defending state champs, the DMA Seahawks. They get a first-round bye. They'll meet the winner of Laurel and Tower Hill in round number 2. Well, there's a breakdown of all your first-round matchups, guys. We're going to close it up here in a second, but let's talk maybe about some of these potential matchups we're going to get to here in the quarterfinals and beyond. Some great potential ones there. Is there one, Jason, that excites you maybe the most, that if it were to play out that way, one that you're really looking forward to potentially here in the quarterfinals?
I would like to see St. Mark's Elysianum, the 3rd chapter of this season. Both won on their home fields. St. Mark's showed great resiliency in their win against Elysianum a couple Sundays ago. They got down early, 4-0 in the 2nd inning, battled back, took the lead. Then Sally's came back and retook the lead, and then St. Mark's walked it off in the last inning with a walk-off walk. But I would love to see this for the 3rd time. I think the first 2 were instant classics. This one could live up to the billing as well.
And again, those 2 teams got to get through some talented teams to get
Absolutely.
to the quarters. Coach, is there any potential matchup that maybe you would like to see? Again, these aren't picks, just something maybe you were looking forward to if these 2 teams were to somehow meet here in the postseason.
Well, you know I don't like to make predictions, and I'm not very good at it.
These aren't predictions.
But what I like about this whole draw is we've got a lot of balance. We talked about that. I think if you talk to all the baseball coaches and other way smarter baseball people than me, there are 7, 8, maybe 9 teams that might be able to get into the finals, and then who knows who's going to win just because how's your pitching staff at that point, and are you still healthy? I think we've got some outstanding matchups in the 1st and 2nd round, and it's always that dilemma that coaches have. Do I think I can win the 1st round game with my 2 and save my 1 for the higher seed? Sometimes you outthink yourself. I've always been a fan, hey, win the game that's in front of you with whoever you think is your best at that point, and then just let it play out. And that sometimes gives the advantage to that team that's had a chance not only to rest everybody and to scout you, but to have their 1 ready to go, where you might have to go with your 2. So I think that always presents some interesting strategic decisions that people have to make. I think any matchup you're going to see in the quarters is going to be really fun. If you get some of those 1st-round teams through to that, I think that makes it even better. I'm always a big fan. I don't like to say of the underdogs, but maybe teams that are a little under the radar. But the thing that I've been most impressed about this season long is how teams have played so well at the end of the season that are around here for the playoffs. Teams have played themselves in. They've been hot. They're playing their best baseball at the right time. And I think we're just going to have an outstanding tournament. So you're not going to pin me down for the quarterfinals. I'm not nearly as daring as Jason. But I think we have an opportunity to see some really good baseball throughout this entire tournament. Let's hope a lot of fans come out and support these teams. I think high school baseball in the state is on an uptick, and I'm really excited to see what happens. And we'll see what happens on that final June 4th at Frawley Stadium at 7 o'clock. But there's going to be a lot of really good games to go before then. Yeah.
And again, we talked about the parity, Jason, in a lot of the male sports here in 2022. We saw it for the most part in those divisions in football. We saw definitely in basketball in the state tournament, seeing it again here in baseball in the spring here in 2022. Jason, you gave us yours. I'll give one here for the quarterfinals. If it were to play out Apo and DMA at the bottom of that bracket, that'd be the one that I'm really looking forward to. You got your defending state champions, actually a championship rematch, if you will, there. Could be in the quarterfinals, so that should be a good one as well. So there's a lot of great baseball coming up this week. It all gets started Thursday in round 1 at 4 p.m. The top 8 seeds will get a first-round bye. They will play on Saturday, May 28th. A special thanks to all the coaches and administrators who were able to share some info with us here ahead of tonight's show. And of course, a special thank you to the man that makes it all go. That's Dennis Pritchett, our producer in the back. A special thanks to Dennis for getting us up and running and take care of pretty much the entire show. So for Nick Alessandrini, Jason Winchell, the coach Bill Harman, and make sure you get out, check out some of these baseball games. It all begins Thursday, 4 o'clock in round 1. Thanks for tuning in. We will see you then.